Dude, how funny would it have been if, like, she was knocking on the window, the cop just kind of, like, snuck around to the other side of the window and was like, yes. Missed opportunity, to be honest with you.
Can you smoke weed? Not on the job.
Eh?
Not on the job. Oh my God. Can you move?
Thank you, Booze. Love you, buddy.
Primero. Así, mira.
Hey-yo! Some Riley Gaines shit right there. Or Simone Biles, whatever. I don't know. Whoever they're both Jewish, I guess. Yeah.
Ew.
Man, whoever just called Sock Tua 5 minutes ago, nailed it. She just did a big Sock Tua right there. She's definitely tripping nuts right now. Wicked hard.
I'm not going to jail. I'm leaving.
You are going to point at you.
Why? Because I'm stepping out of my vehicle.
Protective custody.
Can we just get you home? That's all we want to do.
Of course, but you can't leave my vehicle here and you can't tow it either.
Well, I'm not going to tow it.
Well, I don't care. Where are the keys at?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So find them.
Surprise.
Me neither.
It's not my job to find
It's not my job either.
Okay,
It's
so,
your job to trespass the ID that's being verified.
okay, can we get you?
I can't see.
Can
Honestly,
we get
sir.
you home?
You can.
First real thing she said. She said, I can't see. Honestly, sir, I don't even know what you look like, to be fair. You look like a big fucking bridge troll right now.
Try if I can see where I live. Excuse me, sir. I'm trying to look for something.
Hey, plot twist. Just looked into it. She's dead sober. Stone cold sober. Source? Trust me, bro. I lied. I don't think that's true.
Yeah?
That's gonna be covered anyway, so I'm not gonna worry about that, actually.
Where you live.
Where I live? My house lives.
So you can go and rest.
My house
I
lives.
don't rest there. Okay, so where do you want me to lay? On the roof or on top of the street? I mean, tomorrow's Sunday, fun day for the kids. I'm not a kid, right?
No, I certainly hope you don't have me.
Yeah, I am.
She definitely
Okay,
does.
so
She does. Really.
yeah, drop me off or you leave the kids in the corner so I can break into their mom's house.
Plastic gloves are going on. We're about to escalate.
You teach yourself like,
Can we get you home?
no. Hey, Mary.
God, that is some serious latex glove ASMR via body cam. Never thought I'd really enjoy that as much as I did, but oh
So I can
yeah,
break into their mom's house.
love that latex.
And then it's all night. You teach yourself like,
Can we get you home?
no. Hey, Mary.
Let's go.
You're touching me inappropriately.
touching you.
Excuse me.
No, fuck's sake. Here we like why? That's the default they always go to. Man, it's not even close. He did get the rubber gloves out, but for obvious reasons.
They're gas bomb. What's your name?
Bravo.
Okay. Mesa? Tarin?
Miss Bravo.
Thanks for being here, Annie.
So you have to leave the premise right now, or you're gonna go to jail?
Left or right foot?
Look.
It's out of my way.
We're telling you right now, if you don't leave right now,
Okay, let me leave.
you're going to jail.
Okay, let me leave right now.
Okay, so let's go.
Alright, I'm gonna take a little break real quick. I'll be right back.
Get out of your car and start walking.
Okay. Oh, let me get some toilet paper just in case I need some food.
If you come back to this residence,
Without the
you are
keys?
gonna get charged
So
again.
then I need
See,
to find
now
my
I'm
keys
curious. Like,
so that the person that comes.
is she just in someone's driveway? Understandable that the owner would call the car. You can't just be tripping balls in my driveway. It's gonna, you're gonna need to find a better place to do that. Very sorry. It looks like a residential neighborhood.
Pick up the vehicle, does not get charged
Okay,
again.
get your keys.
Okay,
and
let me
then get
find
off
them.
and go.
Excuse me.
Hurry up.
It's cop
Can
cam.
I use a light?
I can fix it.
No. Trespass me with the
You
vehicle.
are trespassing.
Trespass me.
Pull me. Yank me. Slam me.
No.
So you don't have an access camera?
Our cameras are
Are
recording
working
right now.
Look, Bravo.
14 camera?
Why are you acting dumb? There's no
Because I
reason
don't know
for
where
it.
my keys are, bro.
Okay, so tomorrow
So
when you
tomorrow
sober,
when I'm
look,
access
listen to me.
trespassing,
Listen
you
to
can
me. When you
fucking
sober
trespass
up,
yourself.
when you sober up
I
tomorrow,
don't sober up.
you can
Because
come
my
and
dog
get your
is
car.
dead with rabies. Oh, who cares, huh? I have rabies too. I'm dead now.
Okay, so do you want
Oh,
medical
so you're gonna
attention?
shoot me?
Wait a minute. Maybe she does have rabies. We've been talking drugs, psychedelics this whole time. What if her dog got rabies, bitten by a raccoon, died, but before her dog died, bit her rabies? Is she, you know what's the craziest side effect of rabies? From what I could be wrong, but I believe this is true. when you're actually, and so my wife told me this because I didn't know. I just figured, oh, you get rabies and it's like, whatever, like, oh yeah, take a shot or take a pill and it goes away. If you get rabies and it's not treated before it becomes like rabies, you die. Like there's no coming back. Like once it manifests or whatever, it kills you, which is insane. And the way it kills you is fucking insane, and you become deathly afraid of water, right? That's why you guys know hydrophobia. Crazy. What kind of fucking disease is that, dude? Wow. So let's, for her sake, hope it's not. Let's hope it's not that. It's probably not, but you know.
Get off the property. You're gonna go to jail for trespassing.
Die alone.
Let's go. Get out.
Time to go.
Not helping yourself. Help yourself, Lewis.
Get out.
I'm desperate to know what that book is. I really want to know what book that was.
Get out.
Is that a book? It's got to be a book, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Think and Grow Rich. It's like fucking, it's like Gary Vayner, it's like a Gary Vaynerchuk like self-help book or something.
Stop. Get out.
He's gonna pull it. It has a rabies shot.
Step up.
That's sad. Satarin. La quebró.
Who?
Tighten it more because I'm a child.
What?
More. You were acting like a child.
Amen.
Look at you. Oh, wow. That's out of your own home.
Oh, I did. I missed the up close to the pupils. Hold on.
Acting like a child.
Here we are.
Look at you.
Where are they? Ah. Hold
You
up.
were acting. La quebró. Tighten it more because I'm a child.
Oh, yeah. You can see it even through the, you can see it through the text. Those things are quarters, dude.
Sit down.
You're questioning me. I'm interrogating you.
This is why, like, if you're gonna do some crazy psychedelics or trip balls, like, you want to do it around people you trust. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do it around people that are gonna let you just kind of get zooted and just exist in your car somewhere randomly. Now, granted, if I had to guess, she probably just did this on her own. Maybe, I don't know. We don't know the circumstance, but like, you're gonna find a safe place. Like, if you were just like in somebody's basement with some like couple lava lamps around, like, even if it's a bad trip, how bad can it really get, right? You're gonna come out on the other end. But if you're in a fucking car in the middle of some random person's driveway in the neighborhood, not a good place to do it.
The guy.
Whoa! Did you hear that echo, dude?
Sit up. Let's go.
Okay, let me sit up. Why are you trying to force it?
Put your feet.
Down? Ow. 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 What?
Bring
Somebody
your
take it
arms
out.
out.
The banshee screams. She have gum this whole time? I think she just actually choked on her gum from screaming. She was like, ow! Piece of gut, fucking, a little piece of chewed up gum. She had that shit in the whole time? Madness. Skills. Not a skill issue. Oh yeah, little dead man Carrie.
You can't hold me right. Hold me right.
She's planking, dude.
I'm not strong enough to hold you. Just put your feet down. It's too heavy.
Bro, you couldn't pay me enough money to do this job. I'm sorry, dude. This is the stuff that doesn't make the news. Just like the normal everyday, like, hey, you're just going in for a normal night shift at work, and now this is my night. This is just my night. As a cop, got to deal with this for fucking 6 hours. No thanks. And that's like the least of your worries, right? That's the least of your worries dealing with something like a call like this.
Stop acting like a kid.
My head is too heavy.
Put it against the wall.
Okay.
The wall.
Who's holding my head? Put it on the floor. Put it on the floor. Don't hold me. I don't give you consent to hold me like that. Miss. Daddy.
Sit down.
Where?
Right there.
Oh. Can I stand up? Can you pull me to stand up? Thank you. Hands up me to something so I don't turn
Stand
around.
up.
To the marshals.
Yeah, you want me to stand up? Just do a little stand up. Yep, stand up. Now, I'll show you.
Have a good life, they said. His bravo. Go fucking search Mexico for your lost daughter in America. He si quiere sudaca. Bitchy surraca.
Whoa,
You long enough to know if you're pregnant? You can't have kids. Did you take your organs out?
that was a vicious R roll. Like, I gotta hear that again.
Bitchy surraca.
Whoa!
You long enough to
I
know if
fucking do. I'm so I can't roll my R's. Never been able to. I took Spanish for 2 years in high school. You'd think I'd be a master at it by now. Can't do it. Don't know how people do it, but when I hear it, always gets my giblies jumbling. I don't know why. Love it.
pregnant? You can't have kids. Did you take your organs out? Like your fucking placenta and stuff and your
What?
ass so you don't shit it out when you're throwing up from the cruda? Oh, you wouldn't know. You're not a girl.
What?
Or you don't disclose information you wouldn't want it to be used against you. Am I sounding like ladies here? Is my oxygen level low?
I gotta check you first, but you gotta relax.
Well, I gotta take one sock off if one foot is cold and the other one is hot, and then if my hands are sweaty and the sobacos are wet. Oh, what? Sobacos?
Little, the more you know, star. I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know what sabacos are. I know what huevos are. And he shaves his huevos from like an old comedy skit, but now we know that sabacos are armpits. And if your sabacos are moist, things are getting a little out of control.
People are dripping on
Sit
me.
down there. Sit down.
Yeah,
Oh, let me grip.
kind of hyper. And you,
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of hyper.
nobody's holding you.
Oh, no, just the grips on me. I asked you if I could put my jacket on. You said no, just sit down next to the bench next to me.
Yeah, so take a seat.
Okay. Are you married? I might be.
Hey,
So yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Can you take my vitals? Where are you gonna take them from?
As long as you relax, I just need you to stay. Can you put your feet down? Sit up straight, like
Like a lady?
feet down.
What are we thinking her heart rate is right now? Buck 20?
Yeah.
Buck 20, blood pressure 160 over 100.
we'll take it off right
Pull
now.
it off.
Hey, stop moving so they can take your vitals.
I hope we can see it.
Stop touching me. I don't like females.
She definitely just saw an IRL demon. Look at it. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh, that is a fucking dude. Jesus, whoa. Whoa.
Touching me. I don't like females touching me.
Can you stop?
I don't like her touching me.
What'd she do drinking her drugs? Music asks. Well, my friend, all speculation. We're trying to figure that out. I don't know if we're going to figure it out, but my speculation is this has to be more than just weed and booze. This has got to be some sort of psychedelic of some sort.
I don't like Daddy touching me.
Listen,
I don't like Daddy touching me. No, I don't want Daddy to touch me even if it's forced.
PCP, little bath salts.
My ass. Stick it up there. Even if it's forced.
It's Angel Dust Holmes, Molly or E. It's probably a combination of all of them. You know what I just found out? So you guys probably saw, I don't know, it was like a week ago that Liam Payne died. He was on vacation wherever. He's like one of the, I might be wrong, but like one of the One Direction guys. Yeah, high off the pink cocaine. That's what it was. I read an article and they were like, yeah, they did a toxicology report and he was on pink cocaine, which is, I guess, just like all of the drugs mixed together. It's like meth, like antidepressant, like everything. Meth, cocaine, antidepressants, psychedelics. I was like, we're just mixing everything together and calling it pink cocaine now. Okay, fuck it. That's one way to do it. And then you just jump off a fucking third-story balcony to your death. So I'm gonna fade pink cocaine myself. I'm gonna stick to like a little bit of whiskey here and there. Wouldn't recommend it. If one of the side effects is, oh yeah, ketamine. Yeah, that's what it is, ketamine and a bunch of other shit. If one of the side effects is possible psychosis that gets me to plummet to my death off of a 3rd-story balcony, I'm gonna go ahead and fade that one, whatever it is. That's a hard fade for me.
Relax. No, it's just fucking really nice. Penis.
We got.
I'm gonna relax.
We got.
Harassment. Repeated sexual advance. I can't even see that far. Favors. Huh? Verbal comments. All of that. Since I was 2001. Are you serious? You wanna tell me fucking the 27-year-old
Hey,
had
stop
a
moving.
1-month-year-old baby? She was born? Yeah, 6 months is too late to have a fucking working brain.
Proud of you, Sean. Keep it up, buddy.
What's your name? Sarah?
What'd we get? Not gonna know. Useless.
I'm born there too. Where? In a hospital? Behind a truck? In a napra?
All right, not quite back yet. I'm eating a snack real quick, so I'm just gonna write it down here.
I think eventually they're gonna have to just crack down. I think at some point you just have to put her in like a whatever, a cell, and just let her sober up. Keep an eye at her, make sure she's
Well,
hydrated.
angel dust could be dangerous, though. They can die from it.
I mean, this is the definition.
She has to be monitored.
Or, you know, whatever. Maybe arrested, criminal trespassing, whatever she gets.
How hard? Harder than you could slide your own dad. Medical killer. Pa' que me maten la verga, hocico de la cabeza. Sematropin,
Somatropan?
Sumatriptan. That's for seizures and stuff. I think I was on that once, and it put me in the ER. Because I think what it does is it opens up the blood vessels, and it opens them up fast, and it's very painful when it's as fast as I experienced it. It literally felt like there were fire ants in my brain. They had to give me a special concoction at the hospital because it was just,
We're just watching a body cam.
it was so bad.
I told you already my state in this one. There's rage and then there's pity, and this one's pity and sympathy. Research purposes. Thank you, music.
Sit on the chair, please.
Human psychology, that's right. If anything, it's like a natural inoculation to the desire to get fucked up. You know what I mean? When you see it, like, sometimes when I see shit like this, I'm like, yeah, maybe. I'm glad glad I didn't try that thing that time, because Lord knows.
I can't imagine being in an altered state. That sounds kind of scary to me, especially if you have no control over it.
What do you have that you look at me like that? Because when it's short blood, you're not able to look because it might take your eyes off of you. Oh, but you wouldn't know. So then what are you supposed to look while everyone's squirting your blood?
Wait, was it daylight outside when I? Oh wow. Yeah, so that must have happened like very late at night, and then just processing her probably took a few hours, and then it looks like they're transporting her to maybe a hospital, or this looks like a hospital.
Definitely hospital if it's angel dust or PCP.
Okay.
Rolled up at 5 a.m. Oh yeah, they do have timestamps. I forgot. What time is it now? 6:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Whatever you want. Yes, if it's valid. You know who Diamond is? My dead dog.
I thought, wasn't she calling her dog something else 10 minutes ago? Bravo?
Paco.
Dead. No, all my blood cells are alive.
Well, that's debatable.
Let's hope they're alive.
Don't do that. Well, I don't know. She wants to check me. Sit.
It's been like 2 hours and it doesn't seem like there's any sort of sobering up. So it's like, I feel like that typically with psychedelic, you know, something with a little more half-life than booze. Trips can last a long time.
Which one?
Check the oxygen levels.
Not that one.
Okay. Less more work, though.
You know how to work?
Oh, yeah.
Is he gonna shoot me?
Oh, no.
Oh, I would hope so. You fucking pulled my hair again?
Tab reveal. Yeah, I hope nothing crazy was up.
They fall out on their own, huh? How about you shut
What's up,
the
Perk?
fuck up?
Let me take a temperature. That goes under your tongue and then your mouth closes. All the way. Lips around it.
She's actually complying. It's impressive.
Temperature control?
This nurse also doesn't seem like he's in the mood for her shenanigans.
No.
I'm just good. I figured.
Normal temp. Right. She's fine. Cut her loose. Get on out of here. 98.7. Good to go.
No te la han picado. Oh, fuck no.
What is, educate me, I'm seeing a lot of PCP comments in the chat. PCP is a type of meth? Alright. I'm going to PCP is the main culprit here.
So what's that oxygen?
Almost done, guys. Thank you so much for waiting.
Oh, you pulled out many greñas today. Qué bueno.
All right, I'm gonna go put my dish in the kitchen and refill my drink, and I'll be right back.
What's his name?
Explosively aggressive.
Spicy.
No tiene greñas.
Yeah, that is PCP's plastic piping to me too. If you're in the trades, you know, you have some plumber friends, like PCP is just the standard stuff you use to put plumbing in. Yeah.
New York?
Oh, that's PVC.
But grab her
Yeah.
right. Pull it. You wanna copy
Oh
my
yeah,
number?
PVC.
No,
Oh my
I'll
bad.
copy it for less.
Nah, you guys, everyone in the chat is wrong. It's actually PCP. That's pipes. The plumbing in your bathroom is made out of PCP pipes.
Then I'll pass, and then I'll blame it on you for failing because you wrote the wrong number on the wrong beat time.
Something unpredictable, but in the end it's fine. Smoking PCP in my Toyota Camry.
¿Otra vez? That boy has money again since I was 18? I was fucking 6 months old when you fucking birthed me in the hospital. And you pulled me like this, and you took out the dead baby. Except I was alive. And I still am. Is the baby alive? You don't know, right? Because you stressed me out enough to kill it.
What? Is she living someone else's?
I know who it is, mister.
Yeah, we're gonna need to cuff her to the bed. Maybe
Se la picaron.
we cuffing all 4 limbs now?
Handcuff it somewhere where I can.
Oh yeah.
What hands? Those are hands. Pendeja. Hasta huele rico. Mira, it's red. Lick it.
The sock kiss.
Pinche marrana. Don't make those faces at
All
me.
the rolled R's, dude.
Stinks like ass. No, it's like she just took a shit in my face. Oh, really? No, it's like she fucking put a switch in my pussy.
So now we do a little recap with the boys and the girls about this night. See what they have to say here.
Some of the stuff's funny too, but I'm over it. Behind the scenes, she's barking and
Yeah, maybe with the power of all of us in chat together, we can all fix her together.
Wait, get right there. Let me see what she says.
no, I wanted to stand right there and see what she says.
It does seem like possession too, you're right.
Who the fuck
definitely like, you know, in like the
Excuse me,
1700s,
sorry.
this would be like Salem witch trials type shit. Like they would just be like, witch, witch, and then they'd burn her at the stake. Actually, it was for much like, oh, yeah. Actually, all you had to do was have like a different belief than whoever like the the reigning leader was at the time, and they would just burn you for being a witch if you didn't believe in like whatever their thing was. But this behavior, I mean,
Okay.
man.
Let's see.
There was probably people back then that were getting into the psychedelics unknowingly, right? You know, maybe a couple mushrooms, and all of a sudden, you know, they just didn't have the education back then. So it's like they bring in the exorcist, and then you can't get rid of the demons, and then then it's a witch, and you have to kill her, or else she's gonna take over the village. Obviously, now we can actually run like toxicology reports, and be like, oh yeah, you just need to stop doing so much big cocaine.
Okay.
Oh, what's she saying?
No, I understand. You're not worried of any problem.
No.
Let me look at the vitals and we'll get her out of here.
Okay.
It's like the third time they're checking her vitals, dude. She's becoming more and more erratic as the more time goes on, honestly. This guy hates his life right now.
Okay, well, he was here. He was here, and all you did was this.
Hands are a little shaky.
Oh man, the gloves are coming back on. Is this the chick now we're watching? Chick body cam? Yeah.
Did you know that? You can tell me if you want.
Ah, I just hit my ankle bone. Ouchie.
You know, there's oftentimes you see body cam stuff like this where there has to be some level of lightheartedness that goes into this when this is your occupation and you're dealing with dark shit all of the time. I've talked about this before with like ex-military guys. Like you just adopt this, you have to adopt kind of a sense of humor because it's a way to cope. Otherwise, you're just sitting and living in it. And that sucks. So like once this person is safe, you know, they're out of immediate danger, and you're around your colleagues and stuff. I don't think it's unusual or uncalled for to try to make light of the situation within reason. That was
hot in here.
That was quite a pause too, wasn't it?
Sorry guys, let me go check my AC real quick. It should not be this warm in here.
On your place, the tire mark? They might fall off if you get the tire mark. Yeah, please.
So hospital trip's done. Now we're what?
I gotta turn the fan on. I'm getting toasty. It says it's 71 degrees in here, but it does not feel like it. I could take off my jacket thingy, but I'm wearing a tank top. I don't wanna be without this.
All right, she's looking for
I
water.
wanna be cold, dang it. I wanna wear my sweaters
That's the good news.
and my cardigans. Excuse me. Excuse me again.
Back at the precincts.
Whoa.
The gun cabinet?
Visit Raven734's KO5 page at https://ko-fi.com/Raven734 ? Ref =Twitch.
should probably get rid of the snacking.
This chapter coming to probably an anticlimactic close here. After hibernity. She snuck in wacky inflatable failing arm guy. Here it is. One last hurrah. It says on here she was charged with criminal trespassing, and that's about it. So what did we learn here today? Quite honestly. Well, I shouldn't say we didn't learn anything. We did learn that we should avoid PCP at all costs. I would like to think most people on the stream probably know that already, so it's not like they're learning something you didn't know. If you learned anything from being in pain last week, it's to not to dabble with pink cocaine. So between me and pain and this woman's trifle with the law, I do have sympathy for people in this situation in many respects. Decisions don't make themselves. You know what I'm saying? God bless her. Hope she finds what she's looking for. Wrong. So just say that. Just say no to the next thing there. But I will, I don't take that one. The body cams are always a little bit of a like a gray area as far as how because I don't. When you guys send me some suggestions, I don't really watch them before. I watch them live, so I can experience them for the first time with you guys. And so you never know. Sometimes it's just like it's pure entertainment, and there's just no excuse for behavior. So it's very easy to kind of have that feeling of, you're getting what you deserve here. And then on the flip side, you have stuff like this where it's, if you're obviously consequences for your behavior and making decisions, but like there's an element of you being effectively. There's people struggling with trauma and all these things that manifest itself in drug abuse, whatever. It's a million different things. So I don't find joy in her struggle, but for documentary purposes, why not to do PCP? We need that there, I guess. All right, guys, have a great rest of the night. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Finding the next video.
destined to be destroyed by the allure of that power and use it selfishly. But I don't think that is true. In my opinion, the statement that power doesn't corrupt, it simply reveals, is much more accurate. Through doing this job for a number of years, researching cases of the worst kinds of people, I have witnessed that there are good people who have power. They will stand up for what is right and make choices that go against the grain, and work tirelessly to expose those around them harming others. When they came into money or power, they didn't use it to exploit people around them, or even live in an excessive way. They are the same person morally as they were before, except maybe they are less stressed about paying their bills. Take, for example, the case of G.I. Joe Glenowitz, where a crooked cop faked his own murder because a city official was about to find out about his years of theft, sexual abuse, and various other misdeeds. He offered her bribes, threats, and even considered killing her to get her off of his trail, but she persisted. She didn't even know that the standard audit that she'd been hired to do would uncover his escapades, but when it became obvious that he was hiding something, she refused to let up. She had power over Joe, power over the entire police department, so much so that in the text messages to his wife and son about her, he claimed that she was evil and trying to destroy his life, but she never wielded that power for her benefit. She didn't tell the officers that they needed to abide by her rules. She didn't use her newfound influence to get away with crimes or expunge her record. She was just doing her job. There are great people who have power and genuinely try to make the world a better place with it, and we could spend days listing them out. But I have an even bigger issue with the original phrase. The saying seems a bit too permissive towards the corrupted individuals, as if they are not the ones fully responsible for their actions, that their lives were not a series of events and choices that they willingly made in order to get that power, with the purpose of using it to hurt others. These people seek out money, celebrity, and fame with the knowledge that those things will allow them into the lives of other people, and enable them to become untouchable in the eyes of the public. None of the famous, wealthy, powerful people we've discussed have hurt others by accident. They'll set up their lives in a manner that allows for them to be beyond reproach, making sure that everyone who bears witness to their crimes is either involved, blackmailing them with said involvement, or so mentally destroyed by what they've seen so they will never come forward, and they'll be written off by the general public. Like in the case of Bill Cosby, he cultivated the image of a nice, older man, one who desperately loved his wife, and wore giant sweaters, and was so objectively, morally good that the most scandalous thing that he'd ever done or said in his career, prior to the accusations, is denounce comedians who swear. Despite decades of accusations and Cosby's own confession, there are still people who believe that he is innocent, who love the idea that he sold them so much that they refuse to believe he is capable of harming them. To this day, they denounce and disparage those he hurt and attack anyone who talks about the case. They also ignore his own statements where he admits to his crimes because it doesn't fit their idea of him. The powerful men and women we have covered on this channel were not corrupted by power. They sought out power with the plans to use it to harm those around them. And today's case is no different. In fact, it might be one of the worst examples of it. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Today we are going to be examining the case of R. Kelly, the famed music star who was so brazen with his crimes that he sang about the horrible abuses he imposed on women and children in his life. This video has been in the works for years now, with me having to stop for considerable lengths of time due to the intense nature of the crimes. We also felt it necessary to cover these cases with the respect and care that they deserve, so the script that I'm reading from today has been looked over, edited, and rewritten countless times, so I hope this case is done to your liking. If you have any comments or criticisms that you would like to share with us, feel free to email me at dreading.official@gmail.com, or let me know in the comments down below. This video is also part of our Halloween series, where we upload every day leading up to Halloween. This series is meant to be a thank you for all the support and kindness you've shared with us over the years, with us covering some of the most requested cases you've submitted to the channel. If there is another case you would like to see or a topic you would like more attention brought to, you can of course again email me at dreading.official@gmail.com. I'm constantly going through the emails and adding topics to the list to research, and it's the best way to make sure that I see your suggestions. I also want to mention that we're planning on covering the developing case of Sean P. Diddy Combs. We've begun multiple scripts, but I had to put them aside, as there's still constant updates coming out. At a certain point, we were getting ready to upload a video on the subject to our Patreon supporters, but a new element of the case broke, immediately rendering our coverage outdated and weak. But rest assured, we are working on it. Before we begin, it should also be stated that we are going over the details of the case, which includes child exploitation, trafficking, and general abuse. We do not censor any of the details herein, or use any language to try and get around the YouTube algorithm, as we feel that cheapens the subject matter. So if you are at all sensitive to this information, please click off of the video. Your well-being is of course more important than any watch time metric, but this warning is only as effective as you allow it to be, so please look after yourself. Books like Soulless, The Case Against R. Kelly, and the Surviving R. Kelly documentary were used heavily in the creation of this video. So with all of that said, let us begin. R. Kelly was born Robert
I'm kind of
Sylvester
starting to
Kelly
wind
on
down,
the south
so
side of Chicago.
my productivity is going to kind of suffer for a
Joanne
bit.
Kelly, with two older sisters and a
For those who are
brother.
new here,
Joanne would later get married when Kelly was around 5 years old and have another
Oh,
brother and
what's a
a
draw?
sister, and was raised surrounded by family. His mother moved the family in with his grandmother in the Ida B. Wells project in Chicago, and Robert would state that there were always people, namely women, coming and going from the home. His mother was deeply religious and is often cited as being a devout Baptist, but due to the family's low finances, was not as present as she might have hoped to be. When his mother and grandmother were out of the home, Robert would describe how the other women living with them would act differently. At around 8 years old, Kelly took notice of how the older women in the home would act promiscuously, inviting men over, dressing differently, and engaging in adult behavior around him. In his autobiography, Solar Coaster, which came out in 2012, Kelly's ghostwriter would say, quote, "Cousins, aunties, friends of my aunties, all older women. When my mother wasn't around, the women ran a little freer. As I crept up in age, I found myself more curious and sometimes aroused, and I was ashamed of being aroused." Kelly would begin to be sexually abused and exploited in his own home by many of the women living there. This exploitation began when a woman living in the house brought a man over to have sex and found the 8-year-old watching. After being caught, she would instruct Robert to take photos of her having sex with the man on another occasion. She gave him a Polaroid camera, which he stated he was fascinated by, and he completed the task at hand. But that would be far from the only instance of abuse. That same year, his older sister Teresa would begin sexually abusing Robert, ordering him to keep the abuse a secret. When Kelly would discuss the abuse, he would keep the name of his abuser private, only revealing in a 2022 court filing that it was his older sister who sexually abused him. However, in 2019, his brother Kerry would publicly accuse Teresa of molesting both Robert and himself when she was 16, and they would be between the ages of 6 and 10. He would allege that she would send their older brother outside to play and force either of the brothers to act out her sexual desires. Before we go any further, it's important to note that the abuses inflicted on Robert do not in any way justify or excuse what he would go on to do to others. Two things can be true at once. Robert should not have been sexually exploited in his youth, and he shouldn't have gone on to sexually exploit others. Many people seem to believe that when we talk about a predator's background, and it involves something horrific.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to think about what to do. If I need to end stream or if I need to try and just doodle something, I don't know.
You that it did happen is the purpose of this channel. Many experts who study abuse victims who later go on to abuse others hypothesize that in some cases, abuse victims might mistake their feelings about what they've gone through as being passion or love, especially if the abuser was someone that they otherwise had fond feelings for, and the abuse happened in their youth. They might have a hard time understanding that what they went through was wrong, and that the other party was at fault. Because of that, they might see what they are doing as being normal. Research into this subject is limited and not at all concrete, but to be clear, no victim of abuse is doomed by their circumstances to victimize others. Links will be left in the description box down below to papers on the subject, as well as a charity organization that helps victims of child sex abuse. While this was going on, Robert had begun to isolate himself from other children his age. He had a hard time fitting in with his peers, due in part to his learning disability. Reading and writing was harder for the young boy, as he would later be diagnosed with dyslexia, and other children in the area often singled him out because of it. All they knew was that Robert couldn't do something that they could, and they routinely mocked him for his failures. He would go on to say that when he tried to read texts, he would often hear what he called scrambled music. His focus would be pulled elsewhere, and would become distracted with the sounds his mind was inventing. It's possible that he was also dealing with some form of synesthesia, where the brain routes sensory information through multiple unrelated senses, causing the person to experience more than one sense simultaneously. Although, that's just what we've gleaned from listening to him talk about his relationship to music and sound. Robert's younger brother would describe him during this time as being outstandingly shy and reserved, choosing to stay inside most days instead of hanging out with the other kids. He was isolated both in his home and at school, and he struggled to nurture any relationship because of it. However, Robert would describe this time a bit differently. Although he would say that he didn't get along with many of his classmates in his book, he would also do an interview with GQ in 2016, where he boasted about being only one of his friends to be able to put his hands on the Sears Tower. As he told it, all the kids in his neighborhood were terrified of the structure, as during its construction, they felt like if they touched it, it would fall over and crush them to death. Groups of children would take turns daring each other to walk over to the structure and touch it, but no one would do it, save for him. As he remembered it, he went with a group of friends to see the structure, and would be the only kid brave enough to approach the building. As he pressed his hands on the tower, he informed it that he would be coming for it, as he had big things planned in his life. He said, quote, "In my life, I wanted to feel tall. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to be as tall as the Sears Tower. I wanted to be on top of the Sears Tower. I wanted to be as strong as the Sears Tower feels. When my mom would be on the freeway, I would always look at the Sears Tower as, that's where I want to go, that's where I want to be." How true the story is remains to be seen, as it goes against how he had described himself prior, and how his friends and family at the time spoke about him. There was one place where Robert seemed to excel, and that was music. As we mentioned, Robert saw music all around him, literally. He would see text written out, and a melody would come to him, begging him to bring it to fruition. Joanne would take her children to church every Sunday, and sing around the family home often, and Robert would always join in, wowing the rest of his family with his abilities. That same year, Robert would go through his first profound loss. Though Robert was unpopular with his peers, he had been able to make one friend, a young girl named Lulu. Whenever Robert would speak about Lulu, he would gush that she was his first love, and say that they repeatedly pledged their devotion to each other. They would talk about how they planned to spend their lives together, and grandiose fashion that children often did, and spend most of their time talking and holding hands. However, that future would never come to be. One day while playing in a creek, Robert and Lulu got into a fight with a couple of older kids about who could play in a certain area. The argument was stupid and childish, the way all fights between kids usually are. But in the scuffle, Lulu would be pushed into the water. The small girl was quickly swept downstream and drowned in front of Robert, which impacted him greatly. Robert would state repeatedly that she was his first love and artistic muse. Following the death of Lulu, Robert's sexual abuse would continue, both at the hands of his sister as well as an unidentified male family friend. Studies have also shown, unfortunately, that is not uncommon either. People who have been abused sexually or otherwise often become targets for other abusers. In fact, 6 years ago, a convicted predator named Jack Ryan did an interview where he openly discussed how he chose children to prey on, and this is what he said.
How did you get them alone?
I would check out their family situation. I would check out their clothing, how well they were, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. When we were on the ballpark or on gym floor, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else. Aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody, and it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. It is a direct form of grooming.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more I also look at the family. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would.
Sorry guys, I think I might be in the extreme soon. If I can't think of something to draw in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'll end stream.
I could lure him into grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I can manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me.
So perhaps a child that doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, maybe not really a strong family, things like that.
Yes, no spiritual values, weak in education, needs help in many ways, even from split parent, has a mother who may be having problems with the family, well, here comes superhero to help out, wow, thank you very much. No problem, you ever need me to take them away for the night so you can have a night out? No problem. It works.
Robert's childhood unfortunately allowed predators to see him as an easier target, through no fault of his own. Robert would go on to experience even more hardship. Although the details of what exactly occurred in this instance are hazy, when he was 13 he would allege that he was shot in the shoulder by a group of older boys who were attempting to steal his bike. However, close family and friends would state that the gunshot had been self-inflicted, as Robert was incredibly depressed. He had suffered through years of sexual abuse at this point by multiple different people. He was heavily bullied, and he had witnessed death firsthand. Both instances are plausible. It just depends on whether or not you trust Robert's assessment of his own life or not. However, shortly after he was shot, his life would seemingly begin to turn around in a way that he hadn't expected. His music teacher saw potential in the boy and repeatedly encouraged him to pursue the arts. Kelly was on
Just
the
kind of looking
basketball
for refs
team
at the
and planned
moment.
to pursue the sport in hopes of making more friends, but his choir teacher, Lena McClendon, would go out of her way to sabotage the boy's sports prospects so he could pursue music more actively. This act of sabotage upset Kelly deeply, but the teacher said she knew immediately that he had potential to be a star. At her insistence, Robert would perform in his school's talent show, where he would sing Stevie Wonder's Ribbon in the Sky. The idea of performing in front of his peers scared the boy tremendously, as these were the people who made his life hell up until this point. Whenever he had been asked to speak in his class prior, he had always been ridiculed, and he thought that when he stood in the spotlight, it would be more of the same. Nervous, he wore a pair of sunglasses, hoping to block out the sight of his tormentors when he was on stage, and when he was called to take the stage, he had to be physically dragged to his mark. At The moment the music started, everyone was transfixed. McClin would record the performance, and upon playing it for a reporter with the LA Times, remarked on how incredible Kelly was, even at that age. This instance seemed to change who Robert was as a person. While he was still incredibly shy and nervous around others, he gained confidence in his singing ability, and he began to dream about what his life could be like if he actively pursued a future in music. Kelly realized that while he couldn't read or write very well, he had a natural aptitude for music, being able to play music by ear. He was able to get himself a keyboard, which he used to create the songs he heard in his head for years at that point. Academics no longer appealed to him, as he felt like he couldn't keep up with his classmates in the first place, but when he sang, he felt untouchable. In his senior year of high school, he would drop out and begin busking in the Chicago area. Through his pursuit of music, he would meet 3 other musically gifted men, Mark McWilliams, Sean Brooks, and Vince Walker. The men would talk about their dreams, how they hoped to get noticed by a label executive and be stars. They agreed that they would probably be more successful if they teamed up and performed as a group. They gave themselves the name MGM, standing for Musically Gifted Men. However, Robert was adamant that if they were to work together, he was going to be the front man, placing his name in front of the others whenever he could. After less than a year of performing together, the group was offered a contract from an independent label, but it was far and away from the big break they had hoped for. Robert would write the music for the group, and under this label would release one song, titled Why You Wanna Play Me, that did see some success.
Be something when I've already seen it for myself. Now look, here's the crux. Do I look like I don't ever? Well, why do you want to glaze it? No, I don't want to hear it. No, you listen to this.
After that same year, an American-based talent contest had come to their area, titled Big Break. The show was not dissimilar to modern competition talent shows that are a dime a dozen, where the audience would vote for which act they liked the best. Seeing a golden opportunity, Robert would sign the group up under the name R. Kelly and MGM, and the group would get to work putting together spectacular performances.
Our last band takes great pride in their positive and energetic performances. They've been burning up their own hometown with award-winning shows, and they're determined to show you why Chicago's going crazy for them. Please welcome R. Kelly and MGM.
They would go on to win the first and only season of the competition, becoming audience favorites. Their performances can still be found on YouTube.
I think I'm gonna end stream here, guys. Sorry for the lack of anything in the last little bit, but sleep kind of snuck up on me. So I would like to thank everybody that came out this evening and spent their time with me. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for the raid and the follows. It's been amazing getting to know you guys. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow on our regularly scheduled Friday stream. Probably, well, no, most likely we'll be playing Monster Hunter Wilds. And then we'll get to drawing after that.